tell me why people should listen to your music. What makes you so special that I can't listen to somebody else?
I'm so special.
The Nobody's Famous Podcast.
All right. Okay, guys, and we are back on the Nobody's Famous podcast. We are back with another amazing show in the amazing Subsonic studio with Bruno on the keys. And we're here with a special guest, the one and the only VARSHAVINN.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going great. It's a pleasure to finally have you on the
Yeah,
show.
we've been planning this for a while now, so super happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, and you're right. It's been a while.
Yeah. No, it's nice to finally be here, yeah, for sure. And like after watching all the podcasts that you've done, and then
What?
like, yeah.
I didn't know that you watched them all.
I mean, I haven't watched them all, but like from what I've watched, like all of the
Yeah.
podcasts that I've watched, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I could answer that, or like I would love to talk about that. So yeah, I'm so excited to like dive into things today.
Well, amazing, because that's what we're gonna do right now. Is we're gonna dive in, and I love the enthusiasm because that's what we're gonna do. And let's just jump right in,
Right.
Varsha. Let's take it from here. I mean,
Okay.
so Varsha, I personally don't have experience with borderline personality disorder, which is why I made the mistake of assuming there was multiple personalities.
Yeah.
You sent me this article, and it was one of the misconceptions
Yeah.
actually. And something that I noticed while reading it was that it's classified as an illness.
Yeah, it's a mental illness.
And I mean, coming off of that, maybe you can talk a bit about your experience. What are the misconceptions maybe that you may have faced? And then I have another question, but
Okay.
I'll leave that until you answer those.
So this is the first time I'm talking about it openly. Like I've always been very vocal about mental illness and dealing with it, and also like people in my life who've dealt with it. But I've never been able to talk about BPD because I was just diagnosed with it like 2 years ago, and I've been kind of coming to terms with it and understanding it and studying it, and kind of, like I was obviously afraid of how people were going to react. Like just telling it to the people that I love was really hard because a lot of people still stigmatize mental illness, and so I just didn't want that to be like an added thing for me, along with going through BPD. So my experience has been a little rough, obviously. I was diagnosed with clinical depression in 2016, and I was on medication. So this was in the States. And then I got off medication, but like therapy wasn't working for me. Like nothing was working, and I just didn't understand why. But 2 years ago, I'd gone to a psychiatrist, related to trauma. But that's when I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I'd never heard about it before. And I was like, what is this? What is this? So like, obviously, I had to go through a bunch of, sessions and to understand what it is and how it affects me and why I am the way I am. And honestly, my experience, although it was rough, I think putting a name to it and knowing what it is was like fighting half the battle. And then like when I was learning more about it, I'm like, oh, and like, okay, this is why. Because until then, I was like always told that I was too much, or I was so emotional, I was just too impulsive. This has been my experience. So like having borderline personality disorder is like black and white thinking. It's either like they love me or they hate me, or like having really bad abandonment issues, and feeling everything very intensely, like happiness and sadness, and going from like being happy for 1 second, and then in the 3 seconds you could be just really low and have a meltdown. So I didn't understand why I was feeling that way. And I think knowing that I had it and that was what it was kind of like a relief. And then like I started to watch a lot of videos and like reading about people who have it. And then I didn't feel so alone. So after that, it was just kind of working on it and working on myself.
Yeah, I mean, as you were speaking, I'm sure that I have been a perpetrator, maybe, or classifying certain situations for people when I didn't understand the actions. So I think that I have made the mistake too of assuming maybe somebody might be too much, or
Hmm.
why are they so intense with that kind of thing? Maybe it is actually,
Yeah.
that is the issue, and I think that's a fault on me to not have known a little bit more about this. I also love the fact that you touched on the point of actually knowing what it is, where that will be half the battle. Because I actually I said this in one of the previous shows, but I learned it from a dear friend of mine. She said writing down, like if you write down some of your problems, or you write it down, or how you're feeling, it's because emotions are just like they're things within us,
That's
but
bottled up.
yeah,
That
and
needs
there's
to.
such a uh, they're bottled up, but you can't visualize them. But when you write, you can visualize it, and then you can tackle the problem. So
Yeah.
so what you did was, you're right. It's like half the battle is the first step. I mean, that must have been like you got diagnosed, like medically diagnosed, or you
Hmm.
said it was through a therapist,
It was a psychiatrist.
psychiatrist.
Yeah. So I think it was challenging because psychiatrists work very differently from psychologists, and I think what I needed was a psychologist. Although I was diagnosed with it by a psychiatrist, I feel like the kind of treatment I needed was someone with compassion and kind of understanding
Mm.
what I was going through. I did do some therapy after that, but I am so on and off with it just because I'm so on and off as a person right now. And I struggle with this every day. So like one day I'm just so excited about, dealing with my things, and I'm like hyper productive, and the next day I'm literally in bed crying and like eating my feelings, and then like guilt. So like this it's like a circle of things, and this is something I really wanted to talk about because I feel like people don't know this side of me, and I really want people to like get to know all these aspects about me, and knowing that I struggle with this, but I'm actually okay with it, and I'm kind of trying to live every day with it, because it's not some. And also like BPD doesn't have particular medication like depression or anxiety. There's no particular like medication to overcome it, so it's something that you live with for life. um and obviously you can work on it. You can actually get better. So like I've been a little more aware of my like I don't know, explosions, I guess, or my impulsive actions. It's really hard in the moment because if you have BPD, like it's clouded. Your
Mm.
judgment, like for a few seconds, like literally, like you feel like everything is hazy, and whatever you react, whatever you do, or you yell, you scream, it's just in the moment. And there's absolutely no way that you can control that unless, I mean, obviously there's ways to develop that, but it's really impossible because there's no medication to kind of calm you down. Um, so, I mean, obviously, like every time I talk about it, people are like, oh, yeah, just meditate it off. Like, it's not that easy. So, yeah, I feel like people should learn more about BPD because it's not about having different personalities. It's a struggle with self-identity and how you view yourself and others. So, like, if someone doesn't text me back, like, it could literally, like, boil emotions inside me, and I would feel like, "Oh my god, everybody hates me." Or, like yeah, so it's how you view other people and also how you view yourself. So, like, it's a lot of, self-esteem issues. Um, so like if someone doesn't respond or someone doesn't, so you start to be like, oh my god, I did something to offend this person, but you actually didn't do anything, probably. Like, but that's how you feel. So there's so many aspects to everyday life. It actually affects. It affects personal life, professional life, everything. So I think understanding it helps also professional relationships because
Mm.
it's like, okay, this is why she's acting this way, or this is why she is impulsive.
Yeah.
Um,
Honestly, she's diagnosing me.
are you serious?
Yeah, because I mean, the what you were talking about, like texting, for
Hmm.
example, if you text somebody and they don't text back, or there's a delay or something, that's what I think of. I think, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? But
Yeah.
also, also what you said previously when I asked was about the hyper productive days.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't know, again, and then days where I just don't want to do anything. But I guess, I mean, I'm choosing, and I'm choosing that.
Right.
But sometimes I put myself in that moment. So, but it could be that, as you're
Right.
saying.
I mean, it's honestly like doing that because we have no balance. Like there's no gray area. So that's why they say that people with BPD have black and white thinking because you're either good or you're either bad. Or
Mm.
another person is either good or bad. They like you or they hate you. There's no like halfway, like, yeah, they tolerate you. No, like they either like me a lot or they hate me. And the hyperproductivity and having nothing to do. So I think not doing anything for that day, it comes with a lot of self-shaming and guilt. And so much guilt, and then you cry about it, and then you go in the same cycle. And I think that people should, if anyone ever feels this way, I think they should look into it and consult a therapist because there's actually, you know, not just yourself, but also the people around you make you feel really, really bad about it. And
Mm.
and it's really hard to explain that you have absolutely no control over it. You know, yeah, I'm not a saint. Like I don't have control over my emotions, and it's a chemical imbalance, and there's not, and it can also be genetic. So you just don't know,
Mm.
and I think constant treatment really helps. But I'm still trying to understand it and trying to not let it affect everything in my life, and just kind of trying to like live with it every day.
And with BPD, I mean, in personal or like romantic relationships, how how can you identify it? And like the article was also talking about the rush of like creating a connection quickly, and then you're so excited about it, and then
Mm-hmm.
things change. I mean, how
Yeah.
can somebody in a relationship with somebody with BPD, how can they manage that? Is it manageable? Is it okay if it's not? I mean,
So to touch upon the first thing that you mentioned about like that the excitement and then like it goes away. I mean that's happened so many times with my relationships before. Like I would just jump in, and I had never had a relationship last more than a month or like 2 months because I would just become too much for the person. So it was just like it was a rush. Like let's just, I mean, obviously, like I think maybe like they may look back and they must have been like, that was the most exciting thing of my life. That's okay. I mean, that's how I see it. But it's definitely like a roller coaster being with someone with BPD, and I think it takes a lot of patience and maturity and understanding to know that and like honestly love, because I think that if you truly love someone, you kind of accept them for whatever they bring to the table. But living or being with someone with BPD is definitely hard. And also, so I read about and watched videos about um, being someone with BPD in a relationship and being a partner of someone with BPD. And it's difficult for both people because being a partner is basically like, regardless of whether you understand what BPD is or not, it can be a lot. Um, like emotional breakdowns and like, the person with BPD is like having a rush of emotions throughout the day, and like they have major abandonment issues. Well, I have major abandonment issues. So I literally wake up with nightmares of like people leaving me, and I wake up weeping. So it's actually really, really bad. Um, so I think to like handle that, I think even understanding what mental illness is, it's really, really hard. It drains the other person and it drains you as a person with BPD. And for me, I personally feel really guilty, especially like I'm like, how can I do this to somebody that I love? How can I make them feel like that? And then that adds on to my illness. It's like a vicious cycle. But I still do it anyway. I still feel that. I feel so much. I feel love, hate, anger, sadness. Everything is so intense. There's no balance. There's no stability. I don't know if that maybe a little bit of it is because I'm a musician also. I'm an artist, but I uh but I've noticed that well, now, like, in retrospect, looking back at my relationships, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't always them. Maybe it was also me. Maybe it's just that they thought that I was crazy, but actually I wasn't crazy. It was just something that it was just an imbalance in me that I wasn't aware of and they weren't aware of and they couldn't handle that. Um, but it definitely does affect and not just romantic. It affects relationship with family and parents because um I have like well I do have abandonment issues from a young age because I lost my father. So now I constantly feel like I'm gonna lose my mother. So I think that abandonment issue is always there, but I think it's heightened when you have BPD. So even friends, like you're like, oh my gosh, like if I'm not successful, they're gonna like not want to be my friend. If I'm, not gonna be like in constant touch with them, they're gonna like not want to be my friend. They're gonna like leave me. So it affects every relationship in your life, and I think the best step that I took for myself was telling the people that I love, this is what I have. And I sent them a few like reading materials, some videos. Just like I would really love it if you could. And I think we live in a generation where like people do talk more about mental illness, and I think that I put in the effort to tell them that this is what it is, and I would love it if you could read about it, so you don't think that I am crazy. Um,
Just that statement. I mean, first, you're diagnosing me again. Secondly, the fact that that statement has to be said is also
yeah,
pretty bad. I mean, we spoke about mental health many times on the
yeah,
show, and we discussed this together. We wanted to tackle this issue, which we are. But I mean, some of that is some great advice, and some of that is very actionable as well. I
hmm,
think talking about it, not talking about it. I mean, giving somebody some reading material
yeah,
so they can see that and visualize the problem will help definitely. But there's a lot of it to do with also, apart from misconception or misinterpretation, there's a lot of it is not knowing or classifying it as something else.
yeah,
You know,
of
that's
course.
classifying it as okay, need to step back today.
Yeah, she's just being crazy today. Or like, oh my gosh, she's overreacting.
And even for me, like, there are days where, as we were talking about, like the productivity part of it, I just say today I can't deal with it,
Yeah.
and then when I'm in the day not dealing with it, I'm guilt tripping myself for not doing work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a Friday.
Yeah.
It's a Friday. When you ask somebody else, they say
It's my off day.
it's a Friday.
Yeah.
عادي, relax. And it just that's I think, if it really is BPD, I mean, as I said,
Yeah, I feel like there's so many things that we don't know about somebody's life. And this was a huge lesson for me to know that about myself, that like, and also like guilt is a huge factor. I think a lot of us, regardless of whether we have BPD or not, we have guilt and shame and really bad self-esteem. I think we're so hard on ourselves. Um, but I think that having BPD is like kind of woken me up to the fact that, oh my God, this is how I treat myself. Like, it's still not easy. Like, I still continue to do that. But I don't know. I'm just aware that I'm doing that, I guess. And that's maybe a step. I don't know.
well, it is. I mean, being aware. It goes back to what I said, is
Yeah.
you visualizing the problem. It is
Mhm.
the first step, but it's
Yeah.
not enough.
No.
It's not enough. What you were just talking about, I mean, you really don't know what somebody's going through. You touched on this actually on your social media. You were talking about how nobody's life on social media actually is perfect, and you even posted a picture of yourself without makeup, and you were saying you wanna practice what you preach and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to talk about, uh, I mean, why you feel so deeply about this thing, this subject, and also how do you tie it in with maybe anxiety?
Um, you know, it's really funny because I actually don't wear a lot of makeup on a daily basis, and I live a very simple life. I love to just lead a simple life. Like of course, like what I post on social media is my work, and that is work, and I will give my 100% to it. So let it be what I wear on stage, or if the way I'm, dressing and the way I carry myself. That's of course gonna be professional, and um, I have like my style and what I want to do. But I feel like it's something that also some days I just don't feel like it, but I have to do it. And I actually reflected on that. I'm just like, why do I have to do it though? Why do I only have to post really like edited or just really glamorous photos? Like, why should I do that? And then like that kind of gave a path to so many other questions. Like, this is why I do it. Okay, so why do you do that? Okay, so why do you have to need validation? Why do you need this? And so many questions. And then it came down to the fact that I'm a part of an industry that can be so superficial, but I'm also a part of an industry or in a position of influence. And knowing that when I grew up, I felt so insecure and I was body shamed. And I was, it was really, really rough. And I know that it's 1,000 times worse for the next generation who is probably looking at my content. Um, they have a lot more pressure. Like, if I thought I had pressure, like, this is really, really bad for them. So I was thinking, okay, what do I want them to take from my life or my art, but also like how I put myself across. So I mean, I obviously have a lot of role models that I look up to who are probably big celebrities who do lead very simple lives and who do talk about these things. And so I'm just like, what can I do towards that? Because I continue to also still feel insecure when I look at somebody else's page where their life seems so perfect, and I'm sure their life is not, but somehow you kind of fool yourself into thinking that their life is perfect because that's what they're posting
I
about.
do this every day, by the way.
Yeah,
It happens to me every single day.
it's such a bad habit, and it's such a loop. Obviously, like, it can really affect your entire day. And it's not like we're born with great self-esteem, so like it can really hit you. So it's so important for me. So like me posting a photo without makeup, um now reflecting on that, I'm just like, why did I make it a big deal? It should be normal for me to post a photo without makeup, and I should be able to do that more often. Um, so I think that's why it's important for me. And nobody's life is perfect. Obviously, we touched upon BPD, and like, this is something that nobody knows about me. But I do talk about, like, if I'm having a bad day, I do post stories about it. I'm like, or like, if I'm just like, guys, I saw your comments, I saw your messages, but today I'm just not in a state to respond. So I'm just going to disconnect, and I'm going to do that for myself. And I want people to feel like it's okay to do that, because, you don't always have to be active on social media to have a life. That's something I struggle with still, because you can feel like you're going to fall behind. So when I actually do that, when I take that step, I do get a lot of love from people. Like, you know what, you should do this. Like, do this. Like, this is great. Thanks for talking about it. So I realized that I need to be doing more of it so we can still continue to have an organic connection with people, regardless of how much life is revolving around social media. We can still continue to have that, however small, on social media. So
I mean, part of the proof, I think, is how people are like actually reaching out to you on social media.
yeah,
They are reaching out. I mean, you get people asking you questions. You get people wanting to know more about it. And I struggle with that. I struggle with also disconnecting on actually looking, not disconnecting because I'm active.
yeah,
And I
scrolling.
also scrolling, and I'm also I struggle with being active as well
Yeah,
because of the pressure of
being active.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you have to post something. So
About it.
yeah, and I don't know if you watched the series Big Mouth.
Oh, I love that
Yeah,
series.
and it just really added this, the latest season they added this anxiety mosquito.
I haven't watched that.
Well, when you do,
Mhm.
um you're gonna see something that because they always add like an emotion or a feeling
Mm.
through like some character,
Mhm.
and they've done something for anxiety,
Mm.
and it was perfect to show how you start what you were mentioning
Yeah.
when you first answered the question.
Yeah.
Talking about you ask yourself this and you ask yourself this.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, and
And you did ask me about anxiety. So let's say I'm looking at somebody's story that day. Something that they do could like I could like start like having like an anxiety attack because I'm like, oh my god, I'm not doing enough. Like, oh my god, like they're doing so much better than me. Um, like why am I not getting the same opportunities or support? Like, oh my god, what is going on? Maybe I'm not enough. It's like, Lou, you're smiling at me, so I'm sure you go through the same thing, and um, it actually does cause anxiety, and I'm sure it causes that to so many people. It's really hard to disconnect, especially as a musician. Your life is tied to social media now. Like everything is our work. We get our work on social media. So it's like, how do I disconnect? But also like, I think the question should be, how do I stay connected and disconnect?
yeah, I mean,
I'm still trying to
this
figure it
no
out.
no
Yeah.
it's not an easy question to answer,
No.
and I don't want to dwell on it too much.
Yeah.
But I would say is, we've mentioned it so many times, is just compare yourself to yourself. That's I think the first step. If you today can say within 1 year, me Varsha, in 1 year I'm better than the Varsha I was last year, I think that's more than enough. Even if you released one or two songs,
Yeah.
right? Uh, might sound a bit cliche, but if you do it and you do it consistently and yearly, you realize that the gains are getting a little bit bigger, and even if they're marginal. And I stress this a lot to people who are growing up with the phone in their hands.
Yeah.
Because I didn't grow up, for example,
Me neither.
yeah, we grew up in a world of VHS
Yeah.
and
Well,
using
yeah.
the internet. Yeah, but we were on the border,
Yeah, we
right?
were on the border. Like it came like at a time of more awareness.
Yeah,
For sure.
but I mean, like, we knew a time before the internet. I mean,
Yes.
not me. I mean, I was
Playing
like
in
what,
mud.
4 years old. But I'm saying, like, just the fact knowing that the internet was the way that it was back then,
Yeah.
the gratification period,
Yeah.
where it's not as much,
Mhm.
and somebody has to get off the phone so you can go on the internet. I think this period, it was part of that humbling experience.
Yeah.
To know that it's okay if you don't know
Going to
about.
browsing centers.
Yeah, and exactly, and you're just meeting other people, but
Yeah.
you're not knowing really what's going on in their lives. Then you don't really have that pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now people realize that I haven't even introduced you yet. So, but you have mentioned that you are a music artist. You're a
Yes.
musician, singer, songwriter,
Yes.
with amazing talent. And
Thank you.
we're gonna go into the music quite soon. And before I formally introduce you, one question about the music is, it's just like a top level question for you.
Okay.
Is more of like, tell me why people should listen to your music. What makes you so special that I can't listen to somebody else?
I'm so special.
Oh.
I think that nobody can tell my story the way I can. I think it's the simple fact that I have a lot to say. I've been through a lot and I have seen a lot, and I feel like the way that I would put that in form of songwriting, it's just something that only I can do because nobody can tell my story. So I definitely do pop. I love pop. So a little bit of pop and alternative, but I bring in a lot of Eastern influences. Let it be Indian or Arabic music influences in my upcoming music. I'm so excited to drop them because it's like my roots. It's a part of who I am. Without it being so obvious, somehow it just kind of fused in. It's my story, and I talk about mental health in a lot of my songs. And I touch upon every aspect of life. So even if it's unique, it's definitely relatable to everybody. So I think that's maybe why people should listen to it.
Amazing.
It'll be an experience for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People will quickly notice that I think you use different tones, melodic tunes, and you're not afraid to take a few risks with your music.
No.
And we'll get into that very soon. And before we go to the next section, Barsha, my question to you, my final question in this section is, what's the key takeaway people are gonna remember from this show?
I think they're gonna know that everybody's human. Like, and being human is beautifully flawed. And there's so many aspects to one person. So you don't have to be one thing. And there's so many different parts of a person, good and bad. And that's what makes a person who they are. So it's okay for, like, if someone is watching it, like if they heard about my mental health issues, or if they heard about anything else that we're gonna talk about today, they're gonna know that if they relate to it, they're gonna be like, oh my God, okay, like I did not know this about her. But also like, okay, maybe I should be a little more aware. I think awareness is something that I'm hoping that people would get from it. Like just knowing that nobody's life is perfect, because it's not. I think everybody knows that. It's a really common theme, but also really going into the depth of why nobody's life is perfect. And also like maybe hopefully they would just be a little kinder to people, like, or to themselves. Yeah, and just knowing that it's okay to like be a little oddball. It's cool. It's okay.
We're all oddballs.
Yeah, we all are.
No, it's good. It's great advice, and I
Yeah.
think we will touch on a lot of that stuff. And I would love to keep giving that kind of advice. Is just always remember that you only see the tip of the iceberg. You never see a lot of the stuff that people are going through, and it's okay to sometimes pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to punch yourself in the face.
That's really great advice. I think I should tattoo that and just like look at it every day.
Yeah.
Don't
Just-
punch yourself in the face
Well,
today.
There you go. So Varsha, we've been talking for, I don't know, maybe like 20, 30 minutes, and people don't actually know who you are. Or not
Not
you know,
yet.
not yet more about yourself.
Yeah.
And this is the section where I want to touch a bit upon that. And my first question is, just explain to me, what was your experience as a toddler on stage?
Uh, it was fun. I mean, I loved it. I was definitely forced into it. My mom would just push me on stage everywhere and just be like, always throw me in the spotlight. But I think that I always felt really like I loved being in the spotlight. I loved people clapping for me. I think that's where like my that's like where my love for being on stage came from. Definitely practice. Obviously, it was practice for me to like be more confident. I used to do everything. I used to do like singing and dancing and acting and um everything. My mom would just put like anything. Like she was like, yeah, sign up Barsha for everything. Like she can do everything. I couldn't.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, she was a super mom. She was just like, my kid can do. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, of course, but now I feel like I'm able to tackle a lot of those things because of that.
Yeah.
So definitely help.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
she really
I was in a fashion show too, like in a
Wow.
beauty pageant when I was like really little. I had like bangs.
true
for me to
true
stand.
performer,
Yeah.
true performer. And did you said that you had you were writing in high school.
Yeah.
Like how did
I know.
she's like, yeah. I mean, how did you know that how did you know that you had this ability? What did you feel?
I didn't for the longest
Mm.
time. So I remember like the first time that I ever wrote a song was in the back of my physics textbook in 10th grade, because that was the only time I would use my textbook. I hated physics. I hated science, basically. I hated it. So I would just sit at the back during science classes, and I would it's just one day I just felt really isolated and just really lonely. And I was like, why the hell am I here? What the hell am I doing here? Like, oh my God, this sucks. And so I just opened the back of my physics textbook, and I kind of just like started humming melodies, and I kind of started writing some lyrics. And then I remember I went home. So you couldn't take phones back then. It's cool. And I had like the basic. Nokia.
Nokia 360.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal
I
with
think normal.
circular one.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it was a little more upgraded at that point. You can do recordings. You
Yeah.
still had to do that like basic text, but you could do recordings. So I remember I went home and then like I opened my book and I just recorded that in. So it kind of started that way, and I was like, I just didn't even like think about just doing it as a profession. I just did it because I loved it. But when I went on the exchange program to the United States when I was 15, I was living with an American family and I learned how to play the guitar from my host father. I think so he was doing country music. So I was actually doing country music before this. And I started to like write. Just I was like, "Oh my god, I can actually do this for a living?" What? And I just started writing. I learned the guitar and I would just play it for my friends in my school and they were like, "Dude, you should be a songwriter." I was like, "Really? Okay." So I was like, "Cool, that's what I'm going to do, I guess." So I just write and write and write and write and that's kind of how it started. So like really it was something that was just waiting to like was bottled up and it just kind of came out. And yeah, now I'm here, the songwriter.
Dude, that's an awesome story.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's also amazing that you knew this at a very very young age.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad because I got to actually really work on it and like hone my craft
Yeah.
because practice.
I mean, it
practice.
shows.
Yeah.
And do you look back at some of those writings? Do you cringe at them? Like some of the songs that you wrote?
Yes, I do. Who doesn't? I mean, like I look honestly, I don't even go back and yeah. There was like the rock is so cold by the lake. But, I mean, it kind of started there and
But that's the thing,
I was
people-
so visual about everything. Like I was visual about like I was like cloudy heart, rainy eyes, or, like just really visual things. And now it's like, oh, but I do cringe.
But you know
hard.
what's so funny about this? I mean, I asked it kind of to also make a point is, we look at movies in the 20s or the black and whites
Yeah.
and with no sound and all this stuff. And I mean, I know some friends who can't stand watching such stuff. Even I can't. But when you
Yeah.
go back and you look at them,
Mhm.
that's the start of a feature film.
Yeah.
That's
I guess if
these
you
are-
look at it that way. Yeah.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is,
It's just pure embarrassing for me though. Like I wouldn't want people
yeah,
to
but yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna read them. But what I'm saying is, when you look back at them, you're looking at stuff that this is the beginning of, like, can people say or visualize the moments where they found their passion? You can
Yeah.
say so.
I had a song book, a writing book with my mom had like my mom's an artist. She drew a Grammy award and I was
Oh.
oh my god, it was so extra. Like I had a songwriting book with a Grammy on the front page and the book was full. Like I was just writing all the time. Now I look back, I'm like, oh my god, like what the hell, Varsha? But I think also like although I cringe, like I look back, I'm like the 16-year-old was so passionate, like so confident and so full of like fire that like she was gonna do it.
Yeah. And apart from that kind of key moment in your childhood, is there something else that kind of shaped who you are today?
Yeah, I mean a lot of things in my childhood. I'm an only child, so a lot of it is very self-centered. But I grew up really alone, so I think I had a lot of experiences just observing. Observing people, observing situations, and getting myself into very, very funny situations because I had nothing better to do. And my mom was working, so like I have a single mom, she was working, so I was just alone all the time. So yeah, I think that the isolation kind of gave way to creation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm an older child as well, so
oh,
so yeah.
you know what that feels like.
Self-centered. I mean, it's weird because
We care about people, but
yeah,
there's always a little more self-centered.
yeah, you care about people, but I think some of the issues that arise is that you're always late to the party.
Yeah.
All the cool kids know what to do already, and I was just like,
Yeah.
it was very, very new, and because you don't have maybe like an older sibling to kind of show you the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's cool that you managed to use that isolation
Yeah.
to create what ultimately became, who you are today.
Yeah.
It's just such a long look back.
Yeah. And also, like, just growing up as a woman in India, as a girl, and just rebelling everything that was told to me, I think that really, like, made me into who I am, because I question things now.
Yeah.
I question everything. And I'm like, you know what? I have my own journey and I have my own path that I created for myself. And, like, also dealing with bullies, not just my age, but family bullies.
Mm.
And bullies in the society, because, we live in a very complex society of where people, like, care too much about what's going on in the other house. So,
Yeah.
I think all of that kind of taught me how to deal with those things and just be like, you know what? I'm not going to look back at that stuff. I'm just going to keep forward.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you grow out of it, but there's always a stamp, and it sticks to your childhood. And like I said, for example, for me, too late. It's too late to not really care about what people are saying. To even an extent, even to now. So it's just built, and a lot of people manage to get out of that,
yeah.
which is great. They manage to get out of these. I mean, not some societal norms that are not really good for us.
Yeah.
Well, Varsha, I'm glad to say that we're finally going to talk about your music. And I noticed a picture of you playing the piano.
Yes.
Was that your, like, the rawest experience that you had playing music, or was it the songwriting? How, you know?
Like
What?
playing with the piano. So I actually started with a guitar, but the instrument that I feel most connected to is the piano. There's this beautiful relationship that I have with keys, and it's just me and the keys, and it's a world that no one can get into. It gives me so much space. So even though I release songs with beats and, like, really, like, upbeat stuff, the song starts with the piano. The creation starts with the piano. So it starts out really organic, and that's how I always like it to be. But I kind of lose myself, even if I'm on, as opposed to the guitar. If I'm on stage and I'm playing keyboards, I kind of just close my eyes for a little bit, because I just really lose myself in it. The sound and everything.
I mean, we have a fellow musician
Hey,
in the room
hello.
who actually,
Yeah, he's a.
is a,
I need to hear
pianist
him.
himself.
Yeah.
So I just wondered, because I saw the photo. I mean, I didn't actually, like, look and check it.
Yeah, I'm
It
not
was
like a
just,
professional pianist, so I played the keys to write songs. So it's
Yeah.
something that I accompany myself with.
Yeah.
I'm not a pro, not, but I feel like I have a beautiful relationship with it, and I understand theory and I understand chords, of course, but I'm not like, Beethoven or something.
Yeah. No, but I think it's lovely, because the piano has a way of attracting people to music, and it's
Yeah.
a way to just. I mean, I'm not a musician myself, but I can only imagine that
I'm a music lover, so
it allows you to create music using certain sounds that, as you said, there's nothing around you, and you can just focus on
yeah,
some
and
of
there's
them.
so much space to kind of explore, So
Yeah.
I love that. You
Yeah.
can just
I've seen you perform once, and damn, must I say, I mean, you have this alluring stage presence, and as you discussed, I mean, with you've been since as a toddler.
Yeah.
You've been, it was, I mean, like, how do you feel when you get up on stage? Like, what is that feeling?
Exhilarating. I feel like it's home. It's where I belong. I love to be there, and I feel it's not even like, I mean, I'm always nervous before I get on stage, but once I'm there, it's just my world. And I don't feel nervous. I feel like I'm more nervous in real life, like in a crowd. But when I'm on stage, I know that I have something to showcase and I have something to say. And I feel like growing up and feeling really unheard, I think being on stage is like, oh my God, like I'm finally heard. And it's a lot of validation, I guess. So I think in different aspects, it helps me
Yeah.
just feel really confident about myself.
And do you think someone like, music is probably one of those arts where you actually don't need a degree, I guess, if you're talented.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
No.
but you actually studied it.
Yeah.
You studied songwriting.
Yeah.
Um, why? Like, was it because of your experience? Writing. You wrote so much that you said, "I'm gonna go ahead and do it."
Uh, I think I really wanted to perfect my craft. I wanted to make sure that I was at a level where I could be taken very, very seriously. And I feel like I needed to be in that space. So to do what I wanted to do and the kind of ambitions that I have, I felt like, you know what, I can't take this lightly. So if I can somehow get educated on like songwriting, I mean, but I just didn't study songwriting. I studied music theory, performance, I took vocal lessons. Um, I did some, and like, I learned to play piano. Um, they kind of help you, and production, of course, like producing songs. So I wanted to make sure that I understood, and also music business. Sorry. I wanted to make sure that I understood every aspect of the industry because I knew that if I wanted to get into it professionally, I should understand. And I'm not saying that that is the path for everybody, but for me, I felt like I need to be in a space where I'm gonna meet other songwriters. I'm gonna co-write. I'm gonna really learn like the technicalities of the craft.
Like actually studying your craft, I would say there's also a bit of a disadvantage
Mm-hmm.
because when you start to know everything, I mean, it's not. It's weird because when you know everything about this, then you assume control. Then you might not give control to somebody and trust somebody. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is, which is good and bad at the same time, is people can't cheat you. But that means again, you're not giving them the trust to help you. But if you know all aspects of it, so I agree when you say it's not probably the course that everybody will take,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, it definitely has that draw and that amazing feeling that when you're working with people, like for example, Varshavinn's, team,
Mm-hmm.
your the crew of people that you're working with, they respect you more when you know like how something doesn't sound right,
Yeah.
the wording is off,
And a lot of my team is also from Berkeley, so
oh, okay,
we
perfect.
I mean my co-writer is from there. So, not that I don't work with people outside of Berkeley. Like most like my producers are not from Berkeley. So, um to the thing that you said about disadvantage, I actually don't know everything. I still feel like I don't know. I still feel like I'm not a great songwriter. Like every time I write a song, I'm like I can do better than this. So I feel like there's always this, like, I feel like the day that somebody feels like they're like the greatest artist, I feel like that's the day that somebody loses because
Mm.
music is infinite. Like you cannot master it. It's just something that you have to keep getting better at until the day you die. So, um for me, I felt happy that I feel very grateful that I went just because I was able to understand the market, the industry. I feel like that's something that Berkeley helps with. Understanding like what you're getting into and preparing you for that. Um so that was something, and that's something that I wanted to do. So I'm grateful that I did that. Yeah.
I would say, if you could look back at this moment
Mhm.
30 years
Oh.
and see like, the statement that you just said and really say, am I actually doing that? Am I daily? Am I doing and writing better songs daily? I would want to
I
be in
w-
that moment and see what happens.
yeah, I mean, I really hope I'm still in the same place of mentality,
Yeah.
I guess. Thinking. Yeah.
Uh, it's just on songwriting. You wrote "Loving You from a Distance." Now, a question about this was: did you actually sing it?
Yeah,
Okay, because I couldn't find. I wanted to
because
listen
I
to it.
because I took it down
Okay, there we go.
because I want to re-release it because I released it with a really old sound of mine, and I wanted to re-release it in a more pop version of it. I still love that song. I was just talking to my co-writer that I should re-release it as in a different vibe. So
I was wondering because I
so
mean,
many
other.
people love that song. I'm
I mean,
so
no, I don't even know what it sounds like.
oh my
I was trying
gosh.
to
Oh,
find
I'll
it,
send it to you.
and
Have it.
I noticed some other artists were singing it. Maybe it's a different song, but then I was like wondering, did she write for an artist? So that's why had the question.
No, I sang it.
Okay, well, I need to find. I need to have it because I don't know what it sounds like. Um, and then your independent single, the "Reveal Me." By the way, I loved the aesthetic of the video.
Thank you.
It was shot in Dubai. The way that it was shot, it's kind of like a bit like how we were not the current rebrand, but the rebrand that we were gonna do for the show, like the city lights and
Yeah.
this kind of vibe. You
Yeah,
know?
like purples and blues and
Yeah,
pinks and
yeah. It was.
yeah.
I like that. I mean, due to its success, what did you notice after changed for you as an artist after that song?
A lot. I mean, honestly, like that song kind of was like a doorway to so many more opportunities, especially in the UAE. I feel like that song kind of established the fact that, okay, there's a new artist here and she's legit and she has something to bring to the table. Um, Definitely like, and I feel like that was a sound that so before that I'd taken a break because I was trying to figure out my sound. So releasing that was like, to a lot of people, it was a shocker because it was like, oh my gosh, like this is what you can do. And it was kind of like a little pat on the back. A very rare moment for me, but I did feel really proud and since then, like, yeah, I feel like people take me more seriously as a writer and as a singer. Yeah.
It's funny
I
because
take myself more seriously.
yeah, no, it's funny. I just feel sometimes, you said, oh, she has something to bring to the table. I just feel like it should never be. I mean, of course, external validation is
See, maybe
great.
that's how I think of it because of my need for validation too. You
Yeah,
never know.
see, the thing is, like, especially with music, you need it, so you can't deny that you
Yeah,
need to
it's
have.
a lot about people's opinion about you.
Yeah, but I just feel like, you know, sometimes it's great to have music just really everybody's just enjoying and you're getting that kind of like success from that, not just, it's not just a top down kind of thing.
Yeah. No.
When have you ever really hated what you were doing with music?
I think doing a few shows here uh, where nobody cares. And you're kind of just doing it for the money. And I did have months of disconnect from music, even though I was releasing it. This is not something that everybody knows. Um, I felt like spiritually very disconnected from music because I didn't like feel connected to myself anymore because I was kind of just in this like, okay, shows and get paid and, put it into marketing, and roll out another single. And it became such a rut that um, there have been moments where I've been like, oh my God, like I don't even feel any. I don't think I hated it. I just didn't feel anything. I didn't feel like creating for a while. And I was like, I didn't have the space in my head to create because everything became so commercial. And I'm trying to like find my way back from it again. So I think that's a good thing.
Look, all great artists, in my opinion, I think all great artists take breaks.
Yeah.
They take step back. They reevaluate, and you might be in that phase and feel guilt for not creating things, but I mean, taking the time and patience to work on things really it's a big part of being that artist. I mean, I recently found out that Eddie Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
he was fed up of getting Razzie awards.
Okay.
He kept on getting like, the award for like the worst actor ever.
Okay.
And then I think he took a break for 6 years and he came back with Dolmite Is My Name, that movie. And it was crazy. Like I've never seen him that way. And it's so I think it's very, I mean, not that he's the only example. There are many other examples, but I think it's great to see that you can see other artists maybe taking a break for them to make or create the kind of content that they want to. So
Yeah.
you should be able to do that without feeling bad about doing it,
Yeah. And there's more stuff to write about when you really experience and just silence your mind, and you also grow through what you go through. So there's definitely growth in there somewhere. So yeah.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up to the camera. Well, Varsha, I wanna take this moment to ask you to sing a verse from your recently released single, "Make You Mine."
Yeah.
I want you to take it away.
Sing a little bit of
Do you
it.
want me to do a DJ ramp up?
No, I actually love just like stripped down versions, because the song has like, it's such a, like, it has like a dance kind of vibe, but I always love playing it acoustic or just like singing it by myself at home with like these crazy runs and like things I didn't do in the song. So yeah, I can definitely sing a little bit of it. So I wrote this with Lily, who is my co-writer from Berkeley, just a shout out. And Big Mood, he's a writer from Canada. So we kind of all wrote this over the pandemic together. And it was mixed and mastered by Amin. He's a producer I work with here. So he's Moroccan. And
Amazing.
he's incredible. So yeah, it was like an entire team that came together.
Shout out
Shout
to
out.
all of those people.
Shout out to my whole team. Yeah, so show me what you got, what you're made of. Doesn't like it, I feel that flavor. Fire in my eyes might be fatal. Got sugar and spice in my nature. Say how it's born, body's colored. Turn up the rhythm and swear in the night. Salt on your skin, Chanel #5. This risky business when I make you mine. 'Cause I'm gonna make you mine, my baby. Ooh, ooh. 'Cause I'm gonna make you mine, my baby. Ooh, ooh. Yeah.
Amazing. I like the sugar and spice part.
So, yeah. Got sugar and spice.
I like
That's
that.
so me. So when I write with my co-writer, she knows me so well. So whenever we write, she always writes it according to my personality, because it's so big and she knows how it is, and she's like, yeah, this is how it is, and yeah. So
No, it's nice, and I actually got to listen and hear a bit more of, like, I didn't know Chanel #5. Like I didn't hear
yeah, salt
that
on your
stuff.
skin, Chanel, because
Yeah.
it's so fast. The song is so
The
fast.
song actually, I didn't hear it in that.
Yeah.
So Varsha, we are now entering. We've crossed the hump. Now we're going.
Into a bigger hump.
We're going downhill.
We're going downhill.
We're
Okay.
going downhill. Varsha, offline, you talked to me about you wanted to share something personal, that happened to you. You're telling me about the time that you left university because one of your sponsors asked you for a sexual favor in return for paying for college. And because you're graduating soon, it's part of that cathartic experience that you've made it, Since you were also telling me that many females might or have experienced this, I mean, what advice would you give them, given the situation that you were in?
I mean, I think I'm finally able to like talk about it, because I'm graduating soon, and it's been such a ride. And my mom, obviously, like I'm finishing it off with Berkeley online because I couldn't go back to campus, but I still did it and I made it. And my mom took out loans for it, but I'm here. Like, I completed it. But I look back at it, and the reason I'm talking about it now is because I would have handled it in a much different way. Like, I was so scared back then. I didn't want to say anything to offend somebody. And there wasn't Me Too back then. There wasn't so much awareness around this as a woman as well. So I think my advice would be, especially as a woman in the entertainment industry, just put your foot down. That's what I did. And putting your foot down will still get you to where you want to be. And I'm here. And yes, it would have been a lot faster for me, but fast isn't always good. I think everyone has their own personal choices. I think I have no judgment for whatever people decide to do. But for me, or if you feel pressurized to do something and your heart doesn't feel right and your gut doesn't feel right about it, I think speak up, because I didn't. I wish I did, but now I am, so not too late.
Yeah.
Also that you don't have to compromise on your morals or your character or whatever you believe is right. You don't have to compromise on that, because that will always backfire someday. And I think that believe in yourself enough to know that what you have to offer is way better than compromising. Like, you have to have faith in yourself, have faith in your talent, in your work ethic, in I think you have to have faith in yourself to know that, what I got is something that the world is gonna love to see. So even if I have to take the harder way to do it, I'll still get there. And I think I want people to know that. I want women to know that. And I want women to be brave enough to stand up for themselves and say that this is not okay. And or even like talk to their loved ones, because I didn't. Like, it took me a long time to talk to people about it. And that did affect me for a long time, because my dream was shattered just because I wouldn't do it. So, yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I cannot even think of what you had felt in that moment. But even see, taking the path that you did, the hard way, as you say, doing that is, there's a lot of amazing things that can come from it, because you attained something because of your own worth and your own hard work. However bad and horrible the situation was, you came out of it, like, you creating things that you always wanted to. And
Yeah. I'm on the path that I wanted to be.
yeah, it's just bad that there's this moment that
Yeah.
you had to experience. But I always say, and even for me, because I'm somebody who always, like, I make mistakes all the time,
Yeah.
daily. And I also, maybe some moment I might have done something to somebody and then realize, like, I
Yeah.
made somebody feel uncomfortable or something like that. But I would say, come to terms with certain moments in your life, and never look at it in a you know never look at, you've gone past it, never look
Yeah.
at it in this bad light. And just see that this inflection point allowed you to grow,
Yeah.
and to really just stamp out
Yeah.
some of that stuff.
And this stuff happens in the industry all the time. And it may not always be direct, but even if it's comments or any verbal kind of things that make you uncomfortable, I think women should. I do now, but
Yeah.
I always feel like we're told that we shouldn't offend people, we shouldn't offend men, and I think that that's something that I would, tell them to even like talk to their brothers about or their fathers about, and be like, these are things that offend me as a woman. These are not okay for me to, deal with. So, yeah.
I mean, for sure, lack of education is part of that,
Yeah.
and not even this.
Also, like, taking for granted that I think also the assumption that any woman who's in the entertainment industry would be down to sleep with someone.
Yeah.
Like just thinking that like, oh yeah, she's a woman who's a musician, so she must be down to like do crazy stuff to get ahead. But that's not always true, and I don't think a lot of the industry works that way. I think a lot of women are incredibly talented and are really, really like they have families and they have to put up with this stuff, and they shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to. And I'm just hoping that it just gets better.
Definitely things are.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. On a positive
it-
light, it
yeah,
is.
definitely. Varsha, we before I go to the final few questions, I have one more about you as a person, as an artist, as
Yeah.
a musician, as Varsha. How do you connect with your? Because you're very down to earth. How do you connect with your fans? And how do you create conversations
I connect with
them?
them like I'm their friend.
Hmm.
I love to have friends. Someday, if I have millions of friends, oh my God, I would be so happy. Like people who just really got me. Because I feel like if they listen to my songs, they basically know my life. And if they know my life, that means they accept me for who I am. So like they're a friend, right? Like I make sure to respond to every comment as much as possible. I respond to all my messages. Even if it takes me hours through the day to get through them, I respond to everybody. Or even just like their comment if it's a very small you know, hi, even like hi. I would just because I know that but if people actually take their time to respond to me or message me about something or comment something, I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know if this is normal, but like I just feel so grateful. Like when somebody like says something, I'm like, oh my God, you took your time. Like you took probably a minute of your day to just send me that. Like, thank you so much. So I feel like I really want to have an organic connection with people, just the way I would with somebody that I would meet or my friends. Like, I would love to if I ever met like a fan somewhere, I would love to have coffee with them, and just talk. And I also do this. I sometimes go live and I ask them about what they're going through, what's happening in their lives, because I genuinely want to know and get out of my own head and get out of like whatever position that I feel like I'm put in, and just like I wouldn't even say go down. I would just be like go where everyone is, because I think as an artist you can really feel like you're in your own head a lot, and I want to like be able to feel um like a 14-year-old again, I guess. Just an awkward kid, so who was just really innocent and wanting to talk to everybody. I try to still do that. Of course with boundaries, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely with boundaries. I mean, I've seen a bit of the proof, like in your social media. I mean, I mentioned it before that you can see some of the proof where people are engaging with you and they want to learn more about that, and just um, it seems that you have like that fan base that really wants to connect with you, and it's a good path to be on if you're trying to like expand and grow your music and grow yourself as an artist, because that's where you can skyrocket, because you have that base of people who not just know you because they know this song, but they know that this song represents you. So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
or that song has something personal about you.
yeah,
Like you can build that connection.
definitely.
Yeah. Well, Varsha, I want to say that we have reached the conclusion with a couple of few questions, final questions. Um, and my first one here is, why did you decide to come on the show?
Because I've been wanting to for a long time. Obviously, you know that. I mean, every time I see your podcast, I'm like, we should totally do one. You're like, yeah, I was waiting for the right time. Um, I I feel like it's such a great platform for me to be able to talk more about myself. Um, but like also have conversations. This is like the conversations I have with a friend, basically. Whatever we talk about, these are the kind of conversations. And I feel like having people know that is such a great thing. And also, I've seen the topics so the reason I was so intrigued and excited was because of the topics you cover. um, like imposter syndrome, and like these are things that I mean nobody would think of. I mean I wouldn't think of talking to somebody about it, or like self-esteem, or validation, or I mean I know you talk about very very very, but I'm talking about the things that I personally connected to, and just listening to those answers by other people, and then that would like make me like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think about it that way. So I was kind of curious to be like, what's Ali gonna ask me? Like I know that it's not music centric, and I was excited about that because I do so much of my music stuff all the time, and just to be able to have like to have to talk about different aspects of life and have a conversation about it, and how the industry is, or how we are as people, humans. I think we need that now more than ever in the world. So
I mean, like apart from the issues that the pandemic has created with all the mental
yeah,
health issues and also all of that. I mean, I also spoke on um another counseling platform they asked me to be on, and we spoke about
really,
that. Yeah, I mean, like men not talking about
yeah,
mental health issues, and also just bottling it down and keeping it
yeah.
down.
Be a
But
man.
yeah, I mean, yeah, not to
Yeah,
be stoic all the time and stuff, and just I mean, I'm glad that you managed to connect, and I'm glad that you managed to share a few things that I would say like bombshells,
yeah.
able to like just
Just drop it
have yeah, just
there.
have people think about that
Yeah.
and really make their own decisions and take it away from there. Well, you as an artist yourself, it's only natural I ask you, what do you think of the name of the show?
But he's famous. I don't feel like I am, and I think that's what I was talking about, like humanizing everything and humanizing yourself. And I think talking about real life stuff and everyday things that everyone can relate to, and not just like, oh, I'm talking to a celebrity or something, but just like, hey, talk about your mental illness, man. Like, um, I think that is something that I feel like more people should do. But this is a great platform that does that, regardless of who you are. Like, it's just like, yeah, talk about this. I don't care who you are. And I think that's cool. Yeah.
And when are you gonna say that Varsha has made it? When is Varsha gonna say I made it?
I will message you. I don't
Okay.
know. Hi, Ollie. I made it. I don't know. I keep thinking about the days that I will feel like that. Um, but maybe when I get there, I won't feel like it. So I don't know if I feel like there's another aspect of my life that I really need to fulfill, um, internally, to really know that I made it, because I can't seek that externally anymore. Because work
Mhm.
comes, work goes. It's
Yeah.
up and down, and yeah, I just need to know a point in my life where like I made it, but like I made it like I'm content. I've made it. Like I am happy with who I am. I've made it. So I think that would be a great day.
That's a good statement. I mean, the internal
Yeah,
part, that internal.
internal
Yeah.
internal validation.
That's something we discussed as well, and on the show many times, external validation, and also just always thinking that you're gonna look for something outside and disregarding or discounting the potential within you.
Yeah.
And I know I repeat myself, I sound like a broken record, but I always say to people, like, never discount your internal potential, whoever you may be, whatever you may have. And again, I can't speak for, I wish that I could speak more to people who are not privileged and don't have the chance to, they're geniuses somewhere, or they're creating amazing music, or they're creating amazing, um, stories or things that are changing people. I just wish that, we can get to them more and really have them realize their potential.
Yeah.
And with that, the final question, Varsha, is, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, actually. What made you want to start doing these podcasts interviews. What was the reason behind you wanting to do this? I never asked you that, actually.
There was a lot of things missing in me wanting to create content, wanting to feel that when I can, I can look at stuff online, or if I can create something, I wanted some meaning. I wanted some meaning, and there was a lot lacking, and it came by way of Alex, co-founder. We had this, sit down, and we talked about what we wanted to name the show, what we wanted to talk about, who we wanted to talk about, and it came from the blog that I had. I mean, I had the blog and I stopped writing because it just took so much from me to write. I mean, writing is difficult,
Yeah.
and it came naturally to me that time. I mean, I used to walk around and just see something, and then
Yeah.
I would make an article out of it, but it's just too much editing for me.
Yeah.
And I realized that I'm better more at making conversation. So through another colleague told me, meet up with Alex, and we worked on it, and there was a lot of things missing. I've really just, as we were talking about the show, you would see people on social media and all this stuff, and I just felt like I should be doing that. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Maybe bad reasons,
Yeah.
but it gave me something to finally say that I can say that I'm creating something, and
Right.
that was something that I wanted to do. I guess it's the simple answers.
Right. And I mean, I think that's exactly what you're doing too, because, you're talking about, like, touching upon subjects that people usually shy away from. And I don't know if this, like, actually makes you feel fulfilled. I don't know if, does it make you feel more, like, fulfilled? That
Yeah.
emptiness, that there's something that missing, do you feel like that's actually, like, covering that?
Yeah, I
feeling?
mean, it gives me something to be happy for, something to
Like,
talk about.
purpose.
Yeah, and I'm connecting with different people, and I'm
Yeah.
taking feedback from the fans, but at the same time, learning more about myself.
Yeah.
Moving from having done the first show until now, saying more things, not talking about stuff that I would not talk about before, but also realizing that if I treat it, I mean, you should kind of treat it like a job in a way, but treating it also like a job is also bad,
Yeah.
because I add so much pressure to it. But, it's phase. And that's where, even for entrepreneurs, they go through that phase.
Yeah.
And then you need to change. Not saying that I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm saying like
You
you
are
go through a
totally.
phase. You have to change. You just have to accept it. And some days I just leave it. I say, today I can't do anything with the show.
Yeah.
I wish I never done it. I want to cancel it. I swear to God.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just follow through with it.
I just leave it. I just leave everything, and I say, okay, maybe today is a bad day.
Nice. Okay.
Even if it's one person that's counting on me to release that next episode, maybe I should do it. But today I don't want. I want to cancel everything. It happens like that.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, and with that,
Great.
Varsha, I want to say that we have reached the end of the show. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Same here.
And
Have me here.
it's been great with Bruno on the keys
Yeah, Bruno, thank you.
and Subsonic. Any last words?
Oh. No, I'm fine. I just had a great time, honestly. Like, this, I wish I could just do this all day.
Wow.
I would just love to talk.
This is past her bedtime, guys.
This is past my bedtime. I've been really sleepy. But I think some of my best thought process happens at night, so good.
Night owl.
Yeah,
There we go.
used to be.
And with that, I want to sign us off, Bruno. Guys, this has been the Nobody's Famous podcast, coming to you straight from the Subsonic Studios in Dubai. It has been an amazing experience with the one and the only VARSHAVINN. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you check her out on Instagram at VARSHAVINN,
Thank you for having me.
YouTube, Spotify, Anghami,
Rami.
all the
Apple
good places,
Music,
Apple Music, wherever you
everywhere.
want, And you can also watch the show on YouTube, and we're on the same places that Varsha's on. And we'll be with you all the way. This has been the Nobody's Famous podcast, signing off.
Yay.
Oh, God.
That was fun.
Wow.
That was so intense. Are you tired?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Bruno and thanks Ali. That was really fun. Yeah, I've started like yawning.